प्रिय भाई और बहनों, नमो बुद्धाय, जय भीम. It's very good indeed to be speaking to you all from my lockdown here in the United Kingdom to your lockdown there in India. I can easily imagine you all there in your various situations, all isolated but united in celebrating Babasaheb's birthday. And it's wonderful that so many people from India are gathering in this way, that I'm able to be with you here from England, and that I know a number of friends from other countries all over the world are joining us here now to celebrate together, to commemorate together the great Dr.Babasaheb Ambedkar. It really is quite extraordinary that we have this opportunity because of the wonders of the internet. We can cross the barriers of space, and we can break out of our isolation to meet each other in such a wonderful venture, celebrating Babasaheb's birthday. Of course, we all know what an extraordinary event that was, although at the time it can't have seemed anything very much, just one more baby. You can imagine that Babasaheb's mother and father would have just been seeing this new little life in their arms up there in Mahal in Madhya Pradesh, and well, they wouldn't have had an idea right then of what a big difference it was going to make to the world, the whole world. There's no doubt. And but we know, because we've lived after him, we know what an effect he had. We know what a revolution he instituted in Indian society. And we know that that revolution is continuing and will not stop. I think that sometimes we despair because we think that everything should be moving much faster. And sometimes people begin to think, well, what have we achieved? What have we really done? But I myself have seen big changes in Babasaheb's effectiveness in India. I first came to India 35 years ago, and at that stage, the Buddha Dhamma hadn't spread much outside Maharashtra. Yes, there were pockets of people outside Maharashtra who were devoted to the Buddha, who followers of Babasaheb, but yes, his effect in Maharashtra was quite big, and on the political life of Maharashtra, the social life, and of course, especially in terms of the new conversion to Buddhism. But outside, not very much. But over the succeeding years that I've been going to India, I've seen Babasaheb's impact getting stronger and stronger and stronger, so that more and more people do regard Babasaheb as being their great inspiration, their great leader, and they're vividly aware of what he's done for them. They know that their lives are different because of Babasaheb. And more and more are turning to the Buddha Dhamma. So I think we must be aware of how deep this change that Babasaheb wrought is. It's not a superficial thing. If it's superficial, it comes, has a big impact, and then it goes. But Babasaheb saw things so deeply and undertook the changes that he instituted at such a deep level that they're going to be working their way out for several generations. I think we won't really begin to see India changing overall for 2 or 3 generations. It's going to take that time. So we should be patient, but we should also never turn back. We should never stop our efforts. So when we're thinking now of Babasaheb's birth so many years ago, 120, whatever it is now, years ago, we're looking from the point of view of the big change that Babasaheb made in Indian society and the big changes that are to come. Well, I got a message this morning from somebody from India saying that they were celebrating the birth of Babasaheb, who ended the lockdown of India. 1,000 years of lockdown. The poor of India, the Dalits of India had been locked down for 1,000 years since the collapse of Buddhism. Buddhism had been locked down in India for 1,000 years, but Babasaheb ended that lockdown. Unfortunately, many people still haven't realized that the lockdown has ended, the lockdown of Buddhism, the social lockdown, the lockdown of caste. They haven't fully realized that, but they will. They will if we do our work properly. So we're all locked down. I'm locked down here. I've been out apart from to go to the shops. I've been twice to the shops. I haven't been out for 3 weeks. In Britain, we've been locked down for 3 weeks, and we've got many weeks to go. The virus is having still a very bad effect here. So we're all trying to do our best to prevent the virus from spreading. But it puts us in a very strange position. We're suddenly all just locked down. You know, on the 14th of April, we all like to go to a big meeting somewhere where there's lots of banners, a big crowd, and lots of shouts of Jai Bhim, Jai Bhim, many speakers. We all love to do that. And I know what it's like. I've been on those occasions. But it's such a happy occasion, such a festive occasion. But we can't do it this time because we're locked down. Of course, we're doing it on the internet. It's not quite the same. So I thought it would be good if we thought about how we can use the lockdown to take Babasaheb's message further. As I've said, I've been coming to India for 35 years. And in that time, I've seen big changes in India and big changes in the Buddhist movement and the Ambedkar movement overall. As new situations have arisen, people have responded very differently. So we're in this situation now where we can't go out. And yes, we can connect through the internet, although I believe many people can't do that because the internet connection is very poor as more and more people are using it. And some people can't even do that. They don't have those facilities. So yes, we must recognize that this is a new time, a new situation. We must see how Babasaheb's birth affects us now in this situation. There's no good thinking about what it was like 35 years ago. That's not going to help us. The situation now is very different. So we need to celebrate Babasaheb's birthday now, but we need to celebrate it in the proper way. So what is the proper way to celebrate the birthday of such a great man? Yes, we can have lots of talks, we can have banners, we can have flowers, we can have incense, candles, we can have all those wonderful things. We can garland statues. All those are wonderful, and they do uplift the heart and allow us to express our deep feelings for this great man. But really, the way you celebrate a man like Babasaheb is not just by that sort of commemoration, good as it is, important as it is. The way you celebrate the birth of such a great man is to carry out their work. This has to be said again and again. At every jayanti, we have to recognize that I've got to just make an adjustment to my system. We have to carry out Babasaheb's work by as a way of celebrating. Every jayanti, we have to say this, we have to think this. that the best way to celebrate is to do what Babasaheb wanted us to do. We have to take that caravan forwards. Remember, he said, I brought the caravan this far. Now it's for you to continue it. So how do we take Babasaheb's caravan forward now while we're in lockdown? Well, I've got a number of things I'd like to suggest to you that you've thought about and that you maybe put into practice as a way of honoring Babasaheb, as a way of celebrating Babasaheb's life and mission and contributing to it yourself so that you become an active part of that mission and take it forward in your own way. So the first thing, of course, we need to reflect on the overall situation and recognize that right now, many people in India, actually all over the world, are having a very difficult time because of this lockdown. We know that in India, because of the lockdown, work stops. Many people have lost their jobs. Many people have had to get out of the cities and go to their villages where there's not very much for them. Food may be very difficult for some people. We know that in the big cities, it's really difficult for some people to get any food. We know that many people do not have adequate access to medical help. We know that there's not always is administration effective for everybody, and so on. And we know that in India, the burden of this situation falls very heavily on the poorest, most marginalized and most disadvantaged people. The very people that Babasaheb worked throughout his life to give a better life. That's what his mission was to uplift the poor and downtrodden and give them a human life, a decent human life. But this lockdown and this virus are discriminatory, I'm sorry to say. They're not discriminatory perhaps through intention, but the poor tend to live in worse circumstances. Their health is not so good. They don't have such good access to medical help. And so many more of them will suffer from the virus, and many more of them will die because of the virus. This is not just in India, even here in Britain. I saw some statistics on the BBC that said that a very high proportion of those who are dying from the virus are those from the lowest sections of society, the very poorest, the most marginalized in British society. In America, the virus has hit especially hard Black people, who tend to be the poorest and most marginalized. They live in crowded circumstances, not such good housing, they don't have such good health, and so on. They don't have access to health care. So many more of them are dying. And then it's the same here in Britain, not quite as extreme, but the same. And it'll be the same in India. The virus will hit the poor and marginalized most. The lockdown will also hit the poor and most marginalized more than anyone else. So even though, in a sense, the virus doesn't mind the caste of the person whose blood it's going into, whose lungs it's going into, it doesn't care. It just wants somewhere to go. Nonetheless, it's most likely to be the poorest sections of society that suffer. And it's most likely that the poorest sections of society will find that it's more difficult to get food, it's more difficult to get medical facilities, but it's more difficult to get help from the administration and so on. So, dear brothers and sisters, I hope that you are all not in this situation. I hope that you are, like me, in a good and comfortable situation. You've got enough food and that you are able to stay safe. But we cannot forget the countless people, a cause of people who are not in that position. So we have to, if we're followers of Babasaheb, if we're sons and daughters of Dr.Babasaheb Ambedkar, we have to do something. And difficult to know what to do because we're locked down. So it's not easy for us to get out. And after all, we don't want to get the virus either. But there are things that we can do. It depends where you live and what your circumstances are. But you can do your best to help those who are poor and disadvantaged and who the virus is most strongly affected and the conditions of lockdown most vividly affect. So I can't tell you what you must do. I don't know the situation in India very well, but you need to think, look around, what is going on in your town, in your village, in your state? What is going on? There will be some people who are doing something. I know that Owen Shiratna, fortunately, is doing quite a lot. I know that in Nagpur, in Pune, those two places in particular, people are going out and giving up food, giving up masks, giving up medical help, and so on. So what can you do? Maybe you can't do very much, but maybe you can give money. Maybe you can find organizations, good organizations, and give money. Maybe there's something you can do just by making contact with people in that situation and seeing if there's anything that they need that you can provide. After all, they're usually going to be people who are quite close to us, who share a common ancestry with us, and who, our ancestors were in the same position as they are. So we've got a natural connection with them. Try to see if we can make that connection and try to see what we can do. All this in fulfillment of Babasaheb's work. See right now what we can do to lift up those who are poor and struggling right now in this situation. I heard recently about an organization in India called caremongers. In English, we have the word scaremongers, which means people who spread bad rumors and scare people. So these are caremongers. These are people who spread care. And it's a sort of telephone system. You ring up and you say, I'd like to help. And they will tell you, well, these people need some help. They're in a lockdown. Food can't get through to them. So can you go and take some to the police barrier and hand across? That sort of thing. Maybe sometimes even just somebody needs a kind word. So see what you can do. I know that my friend Arya Ketu told me that he is working with the police, getting their help, and with the local administration to give out food that he's gathered from donations and masks and so forth. And he told me how grateful people are and how deeply moved he has been by the effect this has had on him. He said that he was going to some slums in Nagpur and went to one house where there were two very old people who hadn't been out, couldn't go out, didn't have any money, were frightened of the virus because they're old and the virus hits the old disproportionately. So he was able to give them some food, and apparently they were weeping. They were weeping because they felt they'd been forgotten, and now somebody was caring for them. So, dear brothers and sisters, if we're truly sons and daughters of Babasaheb, and if we really want to fulfill the meaning of his birth, this is the first thing we can do, is find ways we can help. They may not be easy, but with a little bit of ingenuity, you can do something. Then, of course, one of the effects of the lockdown is to leave people isolated, alone, often bored. You yourselves may be isolated, alone, and bored. Even if you're in your family, some people have told me they feel isolated because they don't. They have concerns, they have interests, but nobody shares them. So they feel, even though they're in the midst of a group of people, they feel quite isolated. Others may be more literally isolated. It's not so common in India, but certainly here, I know of many people who are just locked up alone. But even if people are locked up with their families, they're not able to meet their friends, they're not able to move about, and they haven't got their job, school is closed, college is closed. So you may feel quite bored, lonely, isolated. That's a very common feeling. So again, we can reach people in that position. We can reach out to them and connect with them, help them to come out of their loneliness, out of their isolation, and we can help them to come out of their boredom. Because what does this situation give you a chance to do? Those of you who can't work, those of you who can't study, what does this situation give you a chance to do? It gives you a chance to practice the Dhamma. It gives you the perfect chance. It's like a retreat. After all, you can meditate. You can meditate quite often during the day. You don't know how to meditate, you can learn. There are many opportunities online to learn meditation. I know that some of our centres are doing meditation classes. If they're not, they should be, so that people can learn to meditate. And then they can use meditation as a way to give themselves more positive mental states. They can use the occasion to strengthen their minds, to make their minds grow. They can study the Dhamma. Everybody that's listening to me now, I know, has the Buddha and his Dhamma on their shelves. Look, there it is on my shelves. There's the Buddha and his Dhamma. So take the Buddha and his Dhamma, read one section every day, think about it, meditate on it, reflect on it, maybe even write on it. Write in your diary, write about it, write about what it does for you, what effect it has on you, what it makes you think. And maybe even contact some friends and together form a group. You can do this online so easily now. Zoom is a very good way. There are other ways of doing it too. I think you can do it with WhatsApp. You can make a group and you can discuss a section from the Buddha and his Dhamma. That way you're honouring Babasaheb, because Babasaheb wrote that book for you. He wrote that book to help you to understand the Buddha's teaching, which you said is so vast and difficult to get to grips with. So he tried to make a sort of digest of the Buddha's teachings and to put them in a way that you can really use. So use it now. Use this to go through the Buddha and his Dhamma very carefully. If you want to range more widely in the Dhamma, you can listen to talks on the Free Buddhist Audio, on the Sri Ratna India Media site. Many of my talks are there, for instance. Many of other good talks by very good speakers are there. So use the occasion to understand the Dhamma. I think we need to know the Dhamma much, much more deeply. Don't forget that the meaning of Babasaheb's conversion was that if we want to change society, we have to change the fundamental outlook, the fundamental attitude that people have. And that means we have to know a different attitude. What Babasaheb said was that caste comes from the fundamental mindset that people have. We know what that is. We know where it comes from. So if you want to change the caste attitude, you've got to change the mindset. You've got to change the program, change the channel. So the channel is, of course, primarily a mental one. It's a state of mind. As I've said, I've quoted so often, caste is a state of mind. It is not a fact. It is not a reality. So if you want to get away from that state of mind, you've got to get into another state of mind. You've got to have new ideas. So we need to know the new ideas that Babasaheb directed us to, the ideas of the Buddha Dhamma. So really get to know them deeply. Think about them very deeply. Think about how you could communicate to them to people who are not Buddhists. We shouldn't just be talking to other Buddhists. This is a great failing. We must be talking to those who are not Buddhists. There are so many who follow Babasaheb but don't know the Buddha. Well, we need to be talking to them, find where their interest lies and relating to that. So this is, you can be doing, you can be studying the Dhamma deeply, and you can be communicating, discussing with friends, communicating to others. If you've got a group of friends who are not Buddhists, wonderful. Say to them, let's meet up. I'd like to talk to you about some things that I'm very interested in. Here's a passage from the Buddha and his Dhamma. Let's talk about it. And you tell me what you feel. I'll tell you what I feel. So we can use this occasion to change our own minds more deeply, as Babasaheb asked us to do. That's the whole meaning of his conversion, as he set out in Annihilation of Caste so clearly. So we can be communicating that to others, helping them to change their mindset, so they look at the world in a very different way, and hopefully then that can gradually spread out through Indian society over 1 or 2 or 3 generations, so that in the end there's a tipping point, they call it, don't they? That there's the point at which, you know, you're pushing something uphill and it's very difficult, the hill is very steep. But there comes a point when you get to the top and it tips over, and then it's downhill. So we need to reach enough people to reach that tipping point, and then India will change. The world will change. So study, meditate, of course, reflect deeply. I've already said this really, but reflect deeply on what you're reading. Reflect deeply on what Babasaheb has said. Reflect deeply on this situation, on your situation. And yes, you'll then use this time really well, and you won't feel so lonely and so bored. You can do puja. Puja is a way of strengthening your feelings and giving yourself some energy, some emotional energy. Because if you're going to do the work that needs to be done, we need a lot of energy. It's not enough just to have a big motor car. You need petrol in the tank. So get some petrol in your tank through devotion, through devotional practice, where you really express your strong feeling for Babasaheb, your strong feeling for Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, your deep commitment to them, your determination to carry out Babasaheb's wishes. I suggest, for instance, you recite the refuges and precepts and the 22 particular every day. I think we must never forget the 22 particular, because that's where Babasaheb tells us what he wants for us as new Buddhists, what he wanted for those at the time as new Buddhists, us now old Buddhists. What did he want from us? He didn't just want flag-waving Buddhists. He didn't want just jibing Buddhists. He wanted Buddhists who were changing their minds, changing their behavior. Buddhists should be different and better. The Buddha says this, that if you're really genuinely going for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, people will say of you, his life is different now. So can people say of your life, you are different? You're different to other people because you're a Buddhist. So you can be putting that work in now in your lockdown, and you can be helping other people to make their lockdown meaningful. That's one of the problems, isn't it? What are you doing? It's boring. Nothing to do. Yes, all you can do is chat on the internet. Maybe watch lots and lots of TV. It's useless. It's getting nowhere. It's just pastime. And you need, as a human being, to feel fulfilled. You need to feel you're doing something realistic and meaningful. So you could do that yourself in the way that I've suggested, and you can help other people too. You can be spreading Sangha. You can be with your own circle of friends who are Buddhists. You can be developing deeper communication with them. Not just chit-chat and what I've done today, what I had for breakfast, and so on, but my understanding of the Dhamma, your understanding of the Dhamma, my experience of the Dhamma, your experience of the Dhamma, what I've done in Babasaheb's mission, what you have done, what we can do together. So strengthening our Sangha by communicating with each other using this wonderful medium of the internet. Then another problem that people face, and many people have spoken to me about this, is a lot of tension and disharmony in the family. It's not surprising, really. I know that in Britain, again, the government survey showed that since the lockdown, domestic violence has gone up by about 30%. And of course, domestic violence is an expression of underlying tensions, both personal and between people. And most people have some tension in themselves and with others. And in the lockdown, this will come out in families. It'll come out between husband and wife, between older generation, younger generation, particularly between the parents and children, between the children themselves. All sorts of tensions come out. And we need to do something about this in ourselves, and we need to support others. Babasaheb wanted a great revolution in Indian society. He wanted a new society. But the new society has to begin at home. There's no point in having all that talk of new society, no caste, no barriers, equality, liberty, equality, fraternity. If you don't have it at home, if there is a true harmony at home, but harmony has to be worked for. It's not easy. The best way to create harmony is to have together a shared higher goal. So what I'd suggest for a start is that you do puja together. Youngest children, oldest grandparents, all of you can come together and do puja. And that will be truly wonderful for you. You'll experience a wonderful upliftment together, mutual upliftment. If you can study together, even something quite simple, passages from the Buddha and his Dhamma are very nice. You could, all of you as a family, look at them. Maybe, for instance, you could act out some of the scenes in the Buddha and his Dhamma, because there are a lot of stories there. So different people in the family take different parts. Somebody can be Suddhodana, somebody Yashodhara, somebody Rahul, whatever. And you can make a play out of it. And that lets the little children play a part. They love this sort of thing. You could dress up a little bit, you could do some drawings, and so on. But share together something higher, something that lifts you above all your little difficulties, the little difficulties that make you clash together. And then try to communicate. Once you've got that sort of atmosphere, try to sit together and communicate. Not blaming, but really trying to explain your own feelings. Not telling what other people have done, but talking about your own feelings and helping each other to get beyond that. I think this is so important. I'm sure that domestic violence will have gone up in India. I hope not amongst Buddhists, but I'm afraid it's probably likely. I know certainly of incidences of domestic violence amongst my acquaintances, even in our Sri Lanka. Very common. Tension builds up inside you and you lash out. But it's very, very wrong indeed, and especially because it's usually women who are physically weaker, probably not psychologically weaker, but physically weaker. So we should really try to deal with this. If you find yourself getting so upset that you are in danger of lashing out, or that you have lashed out, well then try to get some help. Try to turn to people who can help you. We must have a new society at home, but this demands hard work. The home should be a mirror of the ideal society Babasaheb dreamed of: liberty, equality, fraternity. So think that through. Do what you can to make your own family into an ideal one. Of course, you won't succeed. It's a long, long task, but you can make some steps. And especially at this time, you really urgently need to, because otherwise it will all boil over, and that can be very horrible indeed. So yes, even some very good friends of mine, I know some domestic disharmony is there. So try to do your best in your family to bring about harmony by creating a higher shared goal, and by doing things together that are very, very positive. Sing together, dance together, play together, and try to share enjoyment together, but also in relation to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and work at communicating together, getting to know each other more deeply, understanding each other more deeply, and help others, because some of your friends will be in tension and difficulty in their families, and you may be able to help them too. You may be able to share your perspective and help them to come out of those sort of tensions and difficulties. And this is the way we can right now be fulfilling Babasaheb's dream, making his birth meaningful now in lockdown. There's one more thing that we need to attend to. At this time, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. What is going to happen? I know that this government survey in Britain showed that 60% of people, 60% of people experienced more anxiety than they felt before. Everything is so uncertain. We don't know when this is going to end. I believe in India it's been extended again. It's just been extended in Britain. It's probably going to go on to some degree for at least 2 or 3 months. And many people will be in difficulty financially. Many people will wonder about their jobs when the whole thing ends. Many uncertainties. How will government be afterwards? What's going to happen to the economy in India? What's going to happen to the economy in Britain too? Already the economy in Britain is 25% lower than it used to be. So we need to do something to face this fear and anxiety. And but this is so important. When you feel frightened and anxious, you feel helpless, and because you feel helpless, you feel anxiety and fear. So this means you need to stay active. There's nothing you can do at the moment, nothing you can do to solve the economic problems directly. There's nothing you can do directly to end the lockdown, to protect yourself against the virus, protect yourself against death. It's very limited what you can do apart from staying in lockdown. But you can make sure you don't just give in to the fear by being active. active in all the ways that I've already talked about, reaching out to those who are really poor and deprived, helping, working yourself to practice the Dhamma, and helping others to practice the Dhamma, sharing the Dhamma with others, and trying to live in your family or whatever situation you're in a creative way in relation to the Buddha Dhamma. If you just passive, if you just watch TV, lots and lots of TV, if you just chatter, chit-chat, is that the right word? On the internet, no real meaning to it, maybe even expressing your fear and anxiety, and they express their fear and anxiety, so you just get more fear and anxiety. That's useless. It's not going to help you. Try to put your energy into positive things. And I can almost guarantee you that if you put your energy into something positive, the anxiety and fear will go. Yes, there are things that you're going to have to face. Not much you can do now. Yeah, you can't do much now. They're in the future. So don't try to do them now. Don't worry about them now. And if there's nothing you can do, don't try to do anything. Do something else. Do something positive. Do something creative. But much more important is to reflect. And this is quite difficult. I'm going to put something to you that is really rather demanding, or very deeply demanding. Actually, this situation is just reality. Life is always uncertain. We really do not know what tomorrow will be. Even when it seems as if tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, all just like yesterday, yesterday, yesterday. Even when it seems that we understand what's going on, everything's quite smooth. In a country like Britain, it's very well run. It can easily seem as if everything's just normal. But actually, all the time, the possibility of an ending is there. All the time, there's uncertainty. Why? Because the Buddha told us, and you find this in the Buddha and his Dhamma very clearly, everything is conditioned. Whatever is born must die. Whatever comes to existence must pass. So we don't know when things are going to change in a way that is difficult for us. So we need to reflect on this. We need to reflect on death. We need to reflect on the fact that our life is inevitably ending in death. But this shouldn't make us feel despair. It shouldn't make us feel, oh, well, what's the point? Or make us feel, oh, well, I'll just enjoy myself and watch another movie. It shouldn't make us feel that sort of uselessness, helplessness. What it should make us feel is, I must do something really valuable with my life. I must make my life truly meaningful. And we must take advantage of the fact that conditionality works in different ways. There's a kind of conditionality that just goes from birth to death. Birth, death, birth, death. Round and round in a circle. But there's another kind of conditionality, which those of you who are connected with Triratna will know all about, which is spiral. So we go from one positive state, a state, for instance, of Shraddha, to a state of joy. From a state of joy to a state of happiness, and so on. So that we grow as individuals. We grow increasingly as individuals until we achieve stream entry. And from the stream entry, we grow until we become Buddhas. And once we become Buddhas, we are growth. There's nothing but growth. And we'll be promoting growth in others. So the Buddha Dhamma is the antidote to fear and insecurity. The first antidote, the first and most simple antidote is just do something valuable, do something worthwhile, and then you'll feel okay, fear will go a bit. But we need to go a bit deeper. we need to reflect more deeply on the nature of fear and what it is that we're frightened of. What we're ultimately frightened of is death. We're frightened of nothingness. We're frightened of everything collapsing, everything disappearing. Well, we will die. Everything will end. Everything will collapse. So we have to make our lives meaningful in the face of that now. And that means essentially following the path that Babasaheb gave us. He gave us the path of Buddha Dhamma. And he said it wasn't just for social change. Yes, social change is very important. And the Buddha Dhamma will help to bring about a massive social change. If we pursue it far enough and deeply enough, it would change India, no doubt. Change the world, no doubt. Certainly why I put my energy into Buddha Dhamma for so many years, both here and in India, because I believe that it will create a better world. So yes, that is the purpose of the Buddha Dhamma at the immediate level. But the purpose of the Buddha Dhamma, it goes much further than that. It goes to what Babasaheb called reasons spiritual. He said that was his conversion. It was for reasons spiritual. What are these reasons spiritual? Well, these reasons spiritual are to gain insight into the nature of reality, to become a stream entrant, ultimately to become a Buddha. So you make your life meaningful. Make your life meaningful by committing yourself to the Buddha Dhamma and Sangha, growing in the Buddha Dhamma and Sangha until you break through into reality. You become a stream entrant, and then you naturally go forward to Buddhahood. And this is fulfillment of Babasaheb's message. What India needs more than anything is stream entrants. It needs people who are completely changed in the Dhamma, who've left behind all selfishness, who are only compassion, only sattvas, like Babasaheb. You can make yourself like that. That is the meaning of your life. That's the meaning, you could even say, of this lockdown. The meaning of this lockdown is that you will go beyond merely conditioned existence. You will become bodhisattva, like Babasaheb, living selflessly for the sake of others. If we have enough bodhisattvas, if we have enough stream entrants in India, India will change. So, dear brothers and sisters, I reflected a little bit on the meaning of the lockdown and celebrating Babasaheb's birthday in a lockdown. And I think I hope I've indicated to you what an extraordinary opportunity this is. First of all, it's a wonderful opportunity for compassion, for fellow feeling. It's remarkable, this situation that we are facing, each and every one of us, all of you who are there listening to me now, every one of you faces the same situation as I do. And it's the situation that everybody, all 7 billion people on this planet face. Everybody is in the same situation. Almost all the citizens of the world are in lockdown right now. All of them are in lockdown. So they're all in the situation that you are. And so let's feel our solidarity with each other. We're part of the same humanity. We're all facing the same things. And well, we must reach out to those of our brothers and sisters who are truly disadvantaged. So please consider this very carefully. Please do your best to reach out. Then yes, we face boredom, loneliness, isolation. Maybe we don't so much, but other people do. We must do something to put that behind us. And that is basically to use our time well for the sake of the Buddha Dhamma, meditating, studying, doing puja, and communicating with our friends, and encouraging others to do the same, introducing others to the Buddha Dhamma so that they get that resource So maybe you've got some non-Buddhist friends who are saying, oh, I'm so bored. You say, well, have you thought of meditating? I can show you. I can show you what to do. It will really help you. So taking advantage of the situation. And secondly, many people are experiencing disharmony in the family. Well, try to create the ideal society of liberty, equality, and fraternity that Babasaheb lived to make, and encourage others to do so. Work within your family to create that sort of harmony and unity and good communication. Then finally, we face fear, we face uncertainty, we face anxiety, and especially we face the fear of the future, which is unknown to us, and we face the fear of death and sickness from this horrible virus. So we need to be doing something now that goes far, far deeper, that really practices the Dhamma at a level of compassion, at a level of insight, that helps us to grasp the true nature of this existence, so that we can live happily within it. And when the time comes to die, we can happily die. And then whatever happens, we'll go forward in a good way. So please think about all this. If you want to celebrate Babasaheb's birthday while you're in lockdown, then follow the path that he set out. Carry on the work that he started, and practice the Dhamma, spread the Dhamma, actively cultivate compassion, and out of compassion, work for the good of others. So thank you very much indeed for giving me this opportunity to address you. I'm sorry that the technology hasn't worked very well, but I think it's all overloaded these days. But I hope that you have been able to hear me, maybe even see me. I wish I could see you. I'd love to see you all. But in my mind, I can. I can see you all. So many of you I know, and I can imagine you in your homes. And my heart is with you. And I look forward to seeing you all again, and hopefully with these eyes. I don't know when I'll be able to come to India again. As soon as I'm allowed to come, I will be there. But in the meantime, please do look after yourselves, look after your families, and try to be happy, try to be positive, practice the Dhamma, and do stay safe. This is a nasty virus, and you can help everybody by not getting it, because if you get it, then you put a load on the medical system. So, goodbye. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddhaya.